Reach for the Stars on Star Search, Saturday night at 11:30.
Now, live from the studios of 1290 WHIO, your chance to take part in the Miami Valley's only midday radio talk forum. 1290 WHIO and Television 7 proudly present this simulcast segment of the Mike Scinto Show.
All right, and good morning to you. And this is a special morning for me. I'm going to be talking to somebody who does what I do for a living. Did it for some time before I started. I've been doing it for about a dozen years or so. Joining us from Washington, D.C., a man who also experienced at about the same time I did, the same thing that I did. Larry King joins us, and I know you've got a busy schedule day and night, Larry, and I appreciate you coming on with us.
My pleasure. Thank you, Mike. Good to be with you.
The name of the book says it all. In fact, I have, Larry, a practice that I don't know if I stole it from you or what, but I don't like to read a book before I have the author on. I don't want to know too much about it. But this is one, obviously, because I went through it at the age of 35. Well, I'll tell you, that book, if the pen were in my hand, I would have written the same thing. It's called Mr. King, You're Having a Heart Attack, and boy, you opened up in that one.
Thank you, Mike. It's very strange to write a cathartic kind of book when you've gone through an experience, and we're all in a club, us heart attack victims, of knowing what that experience is like. After I'd had the heart attack in February of '87, I really had not thought about writing about it, but I had taken that drug, at that time experimental, now legal, called TPA, which they gave me in the hospital about 3 miles from here, and which, if it didn't save my life, certainly reduced damage so badly that I was able to lead a fuller life later after surgery. So people asked me about TPA. I went on the Today Show and Good Morning America, and a lot of people interviewed me, and then I went on with the head of the FDA, and TPA wrote to me because I was kind of like their celebrity user. And then finally the drug got approved, and then I needed surgery. And all this was coming in the space of 1 year, and Dell Publishing came and said, what about a book? And I decided I would write it under one condition. One, that they'd get a top guy to write it with me so that I wouldn't have to sit and physically write it because I got too much to do. So they got B.D. Colin of Newsday, who's a Pulitzer Prize winner, and we would work with tape machines. And two, I formed a foundation called the Larry King Cardiac Foundation, so that people who can't afford heart surgery, who fall between the cracks, can get it. Combined with those reasons, I decided to participate, and the result is this book. The tough part is reliving what is kind of a horror, in a sense, what you hope it brings to people like yourself who've had it, or family members of those who've experienced a heart disease, heart attack, heart surgery, one or both or all, is some sort of understanding of what the experience is like. We try to do that. Yeah,
that was my next question. Who this book was written for? If it's written for the people like myself who've had it, if it's for the family members who've gone through it, or people who the doctors have said in 3 years you may need to go through it.
I've interviewed authors for a long time, and I guess they like to say all. Mm-hmm. I think when you're writing a book, certainly like when I do a show, I don't know who I'm doing it for. I mean, I'm doing it for me, obviously, because it comes through me to the audience, so it has to please me. I guess all three. I'm a communicator, so I'm trying to communicate to people this experience. So I would say the book is open to anyone who would be interested in the experience of heart attack and heart surgery spaced by 7 months apart in the same year. What is it like to feel it? What's it like to be carried into an emergency room? What's it like to go for surgery? What's it like the night before? What's post-op like? What are the doctors like? What's the scene you see? What's the frame of reference? Why is there rejection? How do you stop smoking? Those kind of things are all there. I didn't target it. I didn't say, boy, this is for someone who could have this. But hopefully it would help all three that you mentioned.
Now, before we take a break, I want to share a thought with you. And this is one of those thoughts, and you in broadcasting will understand this. One of the things that you're not sure if you want to say this or not because it's going to be misconstrued or sound morbid, and I don't want it to. But Carroll O'Connor has joined our league, and he's doing fine, I heard today. Others, since we've had it, James, I'm trying to think now who...
James Garner,
yeah.
Last week.
Who's doing fine, I understand, and you saw him.
Very well. We sat next to each other flying from L.A. to Washington just about 10 days ago. His biggest trouble is staying away from smoking.
Yeah. That was the easiest for me. The eating part isn't fun. But the point is, almost in a morbid way, when you're in this league, it's nice to know you have company. You don't want anybody to suffer. Do you know what I mean when you hear somebody has it like Johnny Cash, Waylon? You're not happy that they went through it, but it's almost like saying, hey, other people are going through this too.
Yeah, and what the club aspect does, and there is a club aspect to this. Of course, we're getting larger than the Book of the Month Club. So sadly, so much of this surgery is being done. It's one of the most popular, if not the most popular forms of surgery in America. No kidding. About every major hospital is doing 5 a day now.
Yeah.
And I doubt that there's 5 surgeries of any other kind a day in every major hospital. But that club aspect was one of the things that held me well when I was going in. Like, I knew Alexander Haig pretty well, and he'd had it.
Yeah.
And Bob Wolf, who's my lawyer, he'd had it.
Mm-hmm.
And they would tell me, hey, it's a piece of cake, it's a snap. You know, you'll go through this and you'll be flying colors. A week from today, you'll be walking and taking long walks and you'll have breath again. That's a nice, helpful crutch. It sure doesn't overcome the major worry.
Yeah.
But it's nice to, there is strength and company.
Now, Wolf wasn't that kind to you from what you said in the book, initially.
Well, he was
honest.
If not unkind, he was honest. Look, come on, you got to do this, get it done. Don't bellyache so much. Other people went through it. I went through it. He sort of took command. Bob was like the head of the command post at the hospital. Angie Dickinson helped the most, though, if I must be honest. She's a good friend of mine, and I made a mistake. I picked a date, December 1st. Arbitrarily, I picked that date. I was in renegotiations with CNN, and I'd been talking to Roone Arledge at ABC and to King World about leaving CNN to do television somewhere else. And what I told myself was I wanted to get these contracts all straightened out, which, by the way, is crazy, because if I died, who cared?
Who cared?
And if I lived, I could have had it anyway. So I gave a 2-month notice. I took arbitrarily 2 months. And the dumb part about that was, for 2 months, I didn't think about anything else but the surgery. But Angie was one who kept saying to me, you better regard December 1st as the best day of your life. See, I kept looking on it with horror.
Yeah.
I would circle the calendar and say, December 1st is Operation Day. December 1st, they're going to cut open my chest. And so I had an enormous fear building up. And she was the one who kept saying, hope you live till December 1st. December 1st is the luckiest day of your life. She turned out to be right.
Dell Publishing, Mr. King, you're having a heart attack. If you've had it, you need to read the book. If you may have a problem, you need to read it. Larry King with us from our studios in Washington, D.C. Here's how you can participate.
You can take part in the Mike Scinto Show by calling 457-1290 or toll-free anywhere in Ohio, 1-800-345-1290.
Jerry from Kettering, you're on with Larry King. Hi.
Yeah, right after Larry's heart attack, he came on the air. I believe he had Martin Sheen, a former Daytonian, on the air, who also had a heart attack. But I don't think he had surgery, did he, Larry?
No, Martin Sheen, though, had a close call. He had a major heart attack while filming Apocalypse Now. He was in the Philippines. They had to fly him by helicopter from some remote area to a main hospital base in Manila. They gave him the last rites on the plane. He managed to survive, and unfortunately, Martin Sheen still smokes. He visited me in the hospital after my heart attack with Mitch Schneider, the famed leader of the homeless, and Martin Sheen just keeps smoking, and it was incredulous to me that he would continue to smoke, but he does.
Isn't he a runner? Doesn't he?
He does everything right. He eats correctly, but Martin Sheen smokes 3 packs a day. And smoking, they told me, is the absolute. They would rather have you overeat than smoke if you have a heart condition.
And as a matter of fact, you got that warning from the Surgeon General the day you had your heart attack, didn't you?
The day. He wrote the foreword to this book, Coop, and the day before the heart attack, the night before he was on my television show, and as he was leaving, he turned back to me and he said, "You don't look good." And I said, "Well, I'm all right." He says, "Boy, you ought to stop smoking." And I had the heart attack the next morning.
Debbie from Kettering, hi.
Hi.
Yes.
Hi.
Wondered if it was appropriate or not. My husband's been diagnosed with a heart condition. He has not had a heart attack, but he's had, he was a candidate for triple bypass surgery, and through walking and changing of diet and this type of thing, he hasn't had a problem. But the thing that just has been real incredible for me, our insurance, we're both self-employed, so we carry our own insurance, and our insurance has gone up from like $300 and $328 a month 2 years ago to over $750 a month to
my only answer for you is I am uninsurable. Whatever insurance I had before this stood in total, despite the financial rewards I make, which are pretty good, and you got to put some money away. I have $200,000 life insurance, which I had before. I couldn't get more than that because I was a smoker, oddly enough. And secondly, once I had a heart attack or heart surgery, you're uninsurable. Even though the success ratio of surgery is tremendous, I took a stress test, an EKG, the other day, and the doctor told me, you know, we look at this EKG, we couldn't even tell you had a heart attack. You've done that well. The insurance companies, I don't know of any that will insure you at all.
Isn't that wild? And I've run into the same thing you have, and there doesn't look to me be much hope down the road for that change either.
I think first they don't have enough history on it, Mike.
Yeah.
See, this surgery they've really been doing successfully for about 16 years. Mm-hmm. So that's not enough ratio to them, because if the people who were 50 to 55 got it, they're now approaching 71. Well, if they start to die at 71 and the average American dies at 73 and it cuts your ratio 2 years, that might make it prohibitable for it. Although I did have one insurance guy tells me he thinks there'll be a breakthrough company, a company that will say, we'll insure someone who's had a bypass. If you've had a heart attack, I don't think you'll ever get insured.
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break. Larry King with us in our Cox studios in Washington, D.C., and we're talking about having a heart attack. Mr. King, you're having a heart attack, and it is published by Dell Publishing in the bookstores for you, and I suggest you pick it up. Whether you've had one or you know someone who's had one, and we'll be back for your calls and comments on the Mike Scinto Show on 1290 WHIO Radio and Television 7. Watching us in Cincinnati, we say hello to, I believe, Leon is up next. Hi.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
I'm trying to find out about Larry's eating habits, how much they've changed since he's had his bypass.
That's a good question, Leon. They're not like they used to be. After my heart attack, up to the heart attack, I was the worst. I was 3 packs of cigarettes. If I liked it, I ate it. Pizza, cheese, melted butter, sour cream, all the things that are terrible for you, except eggs. I never liked eggs very much. After the heart attack, I got a little frightened, but even then, about 3-4 months later, fell into the same pattern of starting to eat some of the wrong things. After the surgery, as soon as I opened my eyes, one of my great memories is opening my eyes at New York Hospital where the surgery was performed. As soon as I opened my eyes, and the nurse said, you've had a quintuple bypass, you've done very well, from that minute, I was a grade A patient. My life changed completely. I had stopped smoking, so that was history. I stopped eating. If you think it's wrong, don't eat it. So I don't eat sour cream, I don't eat butter, I don't eat dessert. I eat bread but no butter on it, sometimes margarine. Every morning I have cereal, any kind of cereal with skim milk and sliced bananas. I eat a lot of vegetables, a lot of tomatoes and lettuce salads. I eat turkey, lean, and chicken, lean, and fish. And that's it. I don't eat meat. And then I work my treadmill or bicycle every day. I do 20 solid straight minutes of exercise every day, no matter what's going on in the world. So that's a total reverse. I was the kind of guy who used to drive by people who were exercising and laugh at them. Mm-hmm. I was the kind of guy who in a restaurant would watch someone look at the menu and say, oh, I never eat meat, and think to myself, what an idiot, not to eat meat. I'm sorry I ate meat all those years. I'm sorry I took in so much cholesterol in my body. What heart disease means is, there's a simple meaning of heart disease. Heart disease is your body retains more cholesterol than it's supposed to. You inherit that. You can't do anything about the genes. So that means my body puts more cholesterol in it, and you could eat 4 pizzas and have a cholesterol reading of 120. I smell cheese and have a cholesterol reading of 180.
And does that make you resent him a little bit?
I got to change.
Yeah, does that make you resent him a little bit, Larry? Do you resent people now that you're on, and I'm on the same kind of diet, while I've gotten used to and accepted the diet, it still isn't the pizza, and it still isn't the cheese and the butter, and sometimes I get a little resentful that this guy sitting over here weighs 300 pounds, and he's shoveling it down, and he's fine.
Yeah, it's the one thing we can't do anything about, resentful about our genes. I have, the only way to deal with it is the way you deal with doing a program. It's a fact of life. It's moot to think anything else about it. Like, why my father died of a heart attack when he was 44. Well, of course, I think the word cholesterol was probably an unknown word then, or certainly not used. I had heart surgery. My brother has had heart surgery. His son will have to be carefully checked. They worry about the male offspring a lot more than the female. But that's a fact of life. We inherit the genes. It's like, I guess there are short people who resent tall people.
Yeah.
Or fat people who resent skinny people when it's genealogical. There's just nothing you can do about it. There is something, though, you can do about it after the genes. In other words, yes, you can inherit the genes to have heart disease, but you can do a lot to fend it off.
Okay. You know, and I want to touch on something very quickly that for a lot of us who've had the bypass within the recent years, within the last 3, 4, 5 years, and especially who have, without getting into a lot of detail, have used the mammary artery, which theoretically will last longer than the veins, laser surgery. You touch on that in the book. Is that going to be in our lifetime?
Well, I talked to my surgeon the other day. It's a good question, Mike. He said that our kids, maybe not us, our group, maybe not 35 up, but 35 down, there will be, let's say the year 2000, between 2000 and 2005, it might happen quicker, the Americans are going to live an awful long time. What you will do is, and this is not far-fetched, you will go into a hospital, let's say it's your checkup, and you will get on a CAT scan, and the CAT scan will roll down your body and print out for the computer, there's a blockage here, there's this over there, there's this over there. Then they'll program whatever fixes it. They'll program the laser to knock out the blockage, and it'll go down your body and knock out your blockage, and it'll go out in the urine system. And this will be, they will be technologists rather than surgeons doing this. Surgeons will handle intricate problems the laser can't get at. Yes, we're on our way to that. In other words, there's no doubt, like 50 years from today, you and I will be studied as those prehistorics who actually had to have their chest cut open.
All right. Dell Publishing is the publishing company. The name of the book, Mr. King, You're Having a Heart Attack. Larry King with us from our Cox studios via satellite in Washington, D.C. On a simulcast segment of the Mike Scinto Show on 1290 WHIO Radio and Television 7. I don't know, Larry, if you had this experience or not, but I did interviews prior to having the surgery myself, and one of the things that came up, and we would clip stories from USA Today and from various newspapers saying that the bypass surgery, it was a faddish surgery and it wasn't necessary, and did that cross your mind prior to or after the surgery?
Yeah, not after, but prior to, yes. And what the doctor told me, Mike, I don't know what he told you. In my case, he said that I am a prime candidate for this. And this was a conservative cardiologist, by the way, with a second opinion. Always get a second opinion. Mm-hmm. So both cardiologists, one in New York, one here in Washington, said there are a lot of cases where bypass surgery will really do very little for you. You can take medication and just exercise a little. Don't strain yourself in your lifespan. If you're going to die at 62, you're going to die at 62. In your case, you're 54 years old. You have one artery completely blocked off, two others blocked. You had a heart attack with very minimal damage to the muscle. You've got a good muscle. In your case, you're the candidate for this surgery because we think you will get both longevity and comfort. In other words, you're going to get yourself more time to live. This is an opinion. You can never forecast a heart attack. You're going to get more time to live, and you're going to enjoy life more. Well, I don't know if I'm going to live longer, but I sure know I'm enjoying life longer. I would do it again because since that day, since the surgery, I have yet to have shortness of breath, and I used to get shortness of breath walking to an airport carrying a small little satchel. I would have to stop 4 times before reaching my gate to run out of breath. I have that no longer. So just for the comfort factor, I would have done it. But yes, there are a lot of people who claim that this $30,000 operation really doesn't do that much for you, and that more doctors should be honest about it. I've never had a doctor that didn't say it gave you more comfort. It may not give you more life, but I've never heard anyone say you didn't have more comfort. You have to have comfort because just by the logic of it, if you have a blockage and they build a bypass, which is like exit 3 is all blocked off, and they give you your own exit 4, you're going to have comfort. The thing they should tell you more is you still have the disease. More people, it's a plumbing work they're doing.
Yep.
A lot of people think that they have it and they're cured, and they run out and eat all the wrong things, or they smoke, and then they're back with the surgery, or they're dead in a year.
Yep. We say hello to Betty from East Dayton. Just a couple of minutes with Larry King. Hi.
Hi. I would like to know what can be done about congestive heart failure. I was taken into the hospital on December the 29th. and I sure didn't think I'd see New Year's anymore. But with God's help and the good doctors that were on staff at Mount Valley tonight, I recovered again. But I am short-winded, and they told me that there was no way they could do surgery on me.
Some people, I'm not a doctor, so you have to ask the physician. I know that some people are non-surgically treated. They have the kind of a blockage, or they don't have good vein space, or the mammary gland is not one that they can move well, and therefore other treatment. But there's so much new medication that comes up almost every day dealing with this, like Mevacor for cholesterol, which is only out a year and a half. True, absolute, flat-out wonder drug with cholesterol. I'll bet there's drugs all the time that treat you, but I know that there are people who are inoperable, but I'm not a doctor.
Are you on Mevacor?
Yep.
Yeah, so am I. I take Mevacor, 2 a day. Yeah.
I take 2 a day, and they took me off Questran. I used to take Questran, the powder.
I'm taking that too. Yeah.
Well, they said that was causing me. I could handle Mevacor and it so well.
Yeah.
But since I handle Mevacor well, they increased me from 1 Mevacor to 2 and took me off the powder because I take a lot of oat bran.
Okay. Let's try to squeeze one more quick question in. Mary from DeGraff, you had a real quick one for Larry King.
Yeah?
Yes, go ahead. You're on the air.
Yeah. Have you ever heard tell of the chelation?
Yep. In fact, I had a distant aunt who favored chelation therapy, which is a way to avoid bypass. And my problem was the age I was raised in, the ethic, the thing I deal with. The doctors all told me that they thought it was fraud. I'm not saying it was fraud. The ethical medical industry says that it really doesn't work, so I did not try it. I was tempted by that concept of non-surgery.
If you've had surgery, if you are going to have surgery, if you're a family member of someone who has or is going to, I recommend it highly. Mr. King, you're having a heart attack. Dell Publishing, Larry King, thank you so much, and we'll hear you tonight here on 1290 WHI at 11 o'clock.
Great seeing you, Mike. Nice being with you, and good morning.
Thank you, sir. Larry King from our studios in Washington, D.C. Tomorrow morning, we're going to visit with Mrs. Cunningham, Mrs. C. Marion Ross on Happy Days to tell us if they really were that happy and why the show had the longevity it did. If you're going out today, make it a safe day, make it a happy day. We'll see you again tomorrow.
This simulcast segment of the Mike Scinto Show was a presentation of 1290 WHIO Radio and Television 7. Join us tomorrow morning for another exciting guest and conversation. The Mike Scinto Show can be heard weekdays from 9 till 1 on AM 1290 WHIO.